Every time I come out, I always like wonder if the TV's talking shit again, because a lot of people always have masks on. And I'm like, are they scaring people again on TV? These poor people, that they can't make sense of anything. You can't be scaring them like that. They know that, though. They understand that, though. It's like telling children the boogeyman's out there. They have the same kind of mentality. They react the same way to it. They, will tell their friends to shut up, or the boogeyman is going to get them. You put your thing on too, or else it's going to get us. Yeah. It still blows my mind. Like, I look every day or every night on boards to see the latest stories, the latest information, numbers, of dying and the dead, and how climate change is killing people. Now climate change is causing heart failure. Everything's causing heart failure now. Everything but the thing is causing heart failure. I mean, you don't like to think that you're smarter than anyone else, or that you're surrounded by people whose brains don't work that well. But I just don't understand how people can look at that the situation that a lot of us can clearly see. It blows my mind. But then it makes a strong case for the asset idea, whereas therein the idea that there are people here that aren't really people. Or actually, I think the thing is, we're not the people. We're not the people. The idea of this place originally being some kind of training ground, or as Matt over at Quantum calls it, a Spartan training ground for souls. And the soul thing, like that, look, you are your soul. The whole thing, like how they try to say, your soul's inside. No, you are your soul. You are that. Just take soul out of stuff, because that confuses things and makes people think like there's a separate entity besides them. No, there's just you. That's it. You here in a physical form would be the electromagnetic energy in your system, the one that sends signals around your body to get things to work. That's you. That's what you are. Now, whether or not that's just a piece of you physically here, the larger part of you is somewhere else. Maybe in another situation like this, doing the same thing, from a different perspective or whatever. But I tend to think it's more, you're more broadcasting here, like a radio station, because everything is frequency. Well, energy, frequency, vibration. Vibration being what you can see, frequency being what level something's on. A lot of times it gets confused with dimension, and energy, which is like everything. So, yeah, it's like your soul isn't. That's just confusing things, But when you look at this, the situation as it is, and you take the thought that it was some kind of training ground at one point, or a school, and I believe that's what it was, until new information comes to make me reevaluate the situation. Right now I'm going with that. So we have these bodies here because they're acclimated to interact with this with the 3D area we're in, with everything you see on the screen. So the idea that this was I'm sorry, I'm just having a little bit of brain fog. The idea that oh not a little bit of brain fog, having a lot of brain fog. Is there a spaceship like parked under the ground here. Getting a lot of interference in my mind. But you would need tools to teach, right? You would need, like, tools. And I think people, or what would look like humans, like us, were used to facilitate some of these tests. Because I'm sure a lot of it, or at least a portion of it, was interpersonal type stuff. Like how to deal with, to work things out, like emotionally. So you would need people who would be part of the test, but they couldn't be real people like you. Or they couldn't have the divine spark in them. Otherwise, they would have free will, and they wouldn't be able to be used as tools for a lesson for you. So I believe they're able to make people at will who weren't really people. They were just there to help facilitate your test, your training, your learning. Now, at some point, this whole system got flipped upside down. It's a whole nother fucking story I don't have time for. But these tools still exist to be able to use avatars that look like your body to facilitate your lessons, or to teach, or so you could have those interpersonal kind of interfaces with people in which you could learn stuff. There's a way more simpler way to explain this, but I'm not doing it very well. But imagining these tools still exist, a lot of the people that fill up your screen may be these people, maybe these things. Because anyone, I think, with free will, or I don't know, how do you get someone to look at the situation as it is and say, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and get the thing, because that makes sense. Now, of course, there's like social pressure, and that is big for some people. You know, a lot of people just want to kind of fit in. But I would say it's a good plug filter for like who actually has some kind of divinity, who is of God and who is not of God, you know? Kostabi. Mark Kostabi, holy shit. Mark Kostabi, that's his brothers in Psychotica, which was a great band, very big influence on me. Mark actually did the artwork for Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 from Guns N' Roses. Huh. I didn't know he was having his, that's someone else. Because where's Mark's stuff? I got a cigarette in my hand, the phone, I can't really go in there. I don't think you probably could stop it. There we go, yeah. Wow, huh? Cool. Yeah, he did Use Your Illusion. His brother Paul was originally in White Zombie. Later went on to create the band Psychotica with Pat Briggs, who actually lived here for a while in Hawaii. They were a great band. They got screwed around though. They got their first major tour was Lollapalooza with like Metallica and the Ramones. They were just kind of thrown into it. Their label, Deaf American, I think it was just, yeah, Deaf American at the time. I think it's Deaf Recordings. They didn't know what to do with them. And subsequently, they kind of dropped the ball on them. And then Marilyn Manson picked their bones clean for a lot of their ideas. But yeah, that's cool. I'll have to go in there and check out that stuff sometime. But yeah, so getting back, what a off-road little thing there. Getting back to it, these tools of being able to have automated people or fake people exist must still be here, because all the other tools are here because they use them against us. In fact, I think you can have different settings of imagining of some of the stressors that are in this world to create tests or to test you in some way. And it feels like all those levers are cranked as high as they can go to try to create as much stress and as much tension as possible. I don't think I ever would have came upon putting this whole thing together with the possibility that we have a lot of people here that are real people, and as a tool of the system. What I mean, there's a part Mr. Anderson thing too, and that's why you have people that will defend their system, will tell you to put the mask on or call the Gestapo on you if you have more than 5 people in your house, or whatever the things were at the time, which they still are in some places. And you know, people still act like that's on, especially here. Like, this is very, it never ended here. It never, we'll never get over Macho Grande here. So yeah, those things, you know, are out there, and they're probably all around you, all around me. I would think with the lack of divinity, they would lack empathy as well. In fact, I would be certain of it. You can't have empathy without divinity. I don't know how that would be possible. A good way to kind of filter these people out, though, is if someone's like an artist of some kind, if they, whatever kind of art, they probably have divinity. Because as beings of God, we're creator beings. We create things. We create this reality here, and that's why we're used by the creeps to make the world they want. You know, we have abilities they don't have. Reality creation, you know, being one of them, or being the main one. I mean, that's what it is. So if there's someone that has some artistic instinct or artistic interest, is doing something, they probably have divinity. You could test someone. I know I could. If you could get someone to go along with your test, but if you're slick, you could try to. You could probably figure it out too. What you want to do is you want to try to figure out if they have an inner dialogue, which means like they narrate their day in some fashion. It doesn't have to be super autistic Roman court like I have in my mind, but it has some kind of narration. Like, you know, they're coming down, like, oh, should I wear these shoes? Okay, they're thinking that, but then they're also saying it in their head. That's an inner dialogue, an inner monologue dialogue. The other thing is how their imagination. The example that's used a lot is the apple in the head thing. Can you envision an apple? If they can, then that means they quite possibly have divinity, have a piece of God. I don't know if one example of these things you could make a call on. I think you'd have to kind of combine them. Like, hey, do you know, however you go about sussing out this information. If they do have some kind of internal dialogue, they can imagine things. And especially if they're some kind of artist, then you know they can imagine things. And to some extent, they have an internal dialogue, because that's, for me anyway, it's part of the creative process when you're creating something. Whatever it is. Painting, music, whatever, writing. Those things will let you know that that person has divinity. It doesn't mean they're super aware of what's happening yet either, as you have the issue where there are scales on the eyes that still have to come off. The veil brow, scale brow, you know, the veil is dissolving, so people's perception will change. You know, you want to give them a chance, but there's a quick way to get a good idea if they're a tool or if they're a real person, you know. However you go about getting that information, you know. There's subtle ways to do it. But the thing is, it's like I always think, oh, they're not real people. I think they're real people. Those with divinity are something else. Where, I don't know what you call it, of God, you know. And just because someone is a tool or an asset of the system that's another thing too. Someone who will jump to the defense of the official narrative. That's another clue as to, you know, you're not working with someone who has free will and has, you know, their own mind, their own stuff going on. But yeah, even if you have determined that someone's not, air quotes, real, you still got to treat everybody the way that you'd want to be treated. You know, you can look at them in your mind differently, sure. I mean, I don't think it would be possible not to, you know. I would hope you would, because you're not equal to them. They're not equal to you. They're just not, you know. They're not of God. They're not, you know, they have no divinity. So you can't really consider them in the same way with other people, but you have to, you know, consider them in the sense that you have to treat them right. You have to treat them the same. You have to, because a lot of what this test is here, if there still is any kind of test going on, it's a behavioral one. There is no winning or losing. You're not going to beat the beast. You're not going to, like, there's none of that. That's not the point of it. It's not whether you win or lose. It's the behavior during the test. It's not passing or fail. It's how you behave, how you deal with people, how you deal with yourself. Those are the things that matter, and those are the things that are looked at, and those are the things that count. A lot of times, you know, people, I myself used to be the same way. I'd be like, well, how's anyone gonna know? Like, is there someone, like, watching? And yes, there is. That someone is you. And you, bearing witness to your own stuff, are part of the larger collective, which they see or they understand. It feeds into it in some fashion. So yeah, you are being watched. And you may actually also be being watched in the physical realm too. Or maybe you're not, but as my dentist used to say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. He wasn't that smart though, so I think he got that from something else. You can always tell when someone appropriates or misappropriates a quote. It's like, he didn't come up with that. I use a lot of stuff like that too, but sometimes I try to credit the original DLG, but you know, there's only so much file space in my head. I think that's about it. Just gonna walk on home. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.